Well, hello everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Skipping Lunch After Dark. This is way after dark because it's actually dark outside. It's 9 o'clock because my two guests are actually out on the West Coast, and I am really pleased to introduce you all to Ben Costa and James Parks, who are the writers and designers for a fantastic little game you may have heard of, the Land of Eem. So Ben and James, how you doing tonight?
Hey,
doing great.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us on the show. This is awesome.
I am really glad you could come on. I know you are very busy with all the Kickstarter hubbubaloo going on right now, and we were trying to figure out when are we going to do this. And thank you so much for making some time for me. And I would just like to...
Happy to do it.
Thank you. I just want to start off with a couple of get to know you questions. I know we're kind of a little compressed on time, so I don't want to do everything. If I feel like I'm going to poke you a little bit more, I will. But first off, I already said you guys were both located on the West Coast, but where in the West Coast are you located? Like region?
So we are located, we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, both of us. I live in San Jose, California. Ben lives in San Francisco. It's like 40-minute drive from each other. And we both grew up in San Jose, and we've known each other since we were in the second grade.
That's a rather lengthy partnership, yes? It's second grade.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, long time.
That's really awesome.
And we've been making stuff ever since we were kids.
That's really cool. And I want to talk about that in a little bit. But here's my question that I often ask people, because this is a strange hobby. In all the right ways, right? It's a very bizarre thing. We pretend to be, random goldfish. That's what we pretend to be for a few hours. But how did you get into this really weird hobby?
Well, it was a young age as well. We started playing in fourth grade.
Yeah.
We started playing second edition D&D.
Okay.
Same group, and we currently have the same group of friends that we play with yearly at this point. But we've kept that connection as well. So we got in really early. We started playing other games like, the Star Wars West End D6 game.
Okay.
And our friend Amir, who has written an adventure for Land of Eem,
Cool.
he was always into making games, and that really rubbed off on us because he was homebrewing even at a young age in middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was homebrewing before it was the cool thing to do. It was just what you did.
Yeah, it was definitely homebrewing. Right. Cool. Right. Yeah, homebrewing before it was a cool thing to do. And game design is his career now.
That's awesome.
And it rubbed off on us, and Ben and I have been, tooling around with making our own game for a long time.
Okay.
And with the Land of Eem being the setting of our different book series like Rickety Stitch and the Gelatinous Goo and Dungeoneer Adventures, it seemed like a very obvious place to start to expand the world and dive back into what we loved.
That's really cool. And also, you realize you have identified yourselves both as unicorns now, right? Like, we started in fourth grade and play with the same group of players that we did back in fourth grade, which no one manages to do, which is really cool.
I mean, to be fair, it's really hard to schedule these things now.
The scheduler is the big bad evil guy. Like, I actually need to get a picture of him done, of the person who just ruins everything. But you managed to do that. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And what a rarity, not only for you both to continue your friendship from the second grade onward, but to have that group of friends that have continued on into adulthood and kids and jobs and moves and everything. It's such a cool thing that you've managed to do that. So cheers.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's a special group.
It would have to be. Because you after all those years, you've gone through many of transitions and challenges and life changes and everything, and to stay connected like that, that's really important. I think that's cool. So I appreciate that. Now, you had mentioned, James, that Land of Eem's origin is actually this book series. You mentioned the titles of it. Can you kind of give some of the background as like what this book series is about and who the target audience is?
Sure. So the origin of the Land of Eem is a graphic novel series that Ben and I did. Ben is the illustrator of the series, called Rickety Stitch and the Gelatinous Goo, and it was published by Random House, Knopf books for young kids. And it is about a skeleton bard who goes on a pretty epic quest through the Land of Eem to discover who he was when he was alive.
Okay.
And we did that. We'd worked on that for long time. Like it had different variations, and we finally got serious and put out the manuscript, and Knopf was interested and published the 3-book series. And
now it's published by Exalted Funeral.
Yeah. We recently got the rights back, and because Land of Eem was being published by Exalted Funeral, we had the rights to Rickety Stitch, and they put together like a beautiful, slipcase box set of the series, and now it's finding like a whole new audience, which is fun. And that's really where it came from.
It's so cool.
Then the other series, it's really fun. Ben and I are deep lovers of comics and graphic novels, and along with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, we grew up reading lots of comics like Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai.
Okay.
And superhero comics, and you name it. We love that stuff. And
awesome.
Writing stories is one of our core competencies.
Sweet. And so folks can still get the novels from Exalted Funeral right now, which I think is really, really cool. And my 7-year-old loves to read and loves graphic novels, so hopefully he can dig into those pretty soon. What is the other one? It's the Dungeoneer's Adventures? The other series for the...
That's right.
Okay.
Dungeoneer Adventures It's a middle grade series. It's a chapter book series, so it's filled with illustrations, but it's written like a novel. So it's like a little bit of both.
All right.
And it is the story of a kid that is the only kid that attends Dungeoneer Academy in the Underlands, and his name is Coop Cooperson, and he goes on epic adventures as he learns to become an explorer officially in the Land of Eem. And we did that series with Simon and Schuster.
Okay.
And it is like middle grade, like 8 and up is the perfect age group. Rickety Stitch is more like 12 and up, although I'd say 10. You know, we've traveled all over the country doing school visits and stuff, and kids just devour it.
I'll add that James and I always make sure that we have fun writing these things.
Okay.
So, you know, we're our own audience as well. I think older individuals could totally enjoy what we're doing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. A lot,
yeah.
Like with other stuff, a lot of our fans are adults.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the things that people compare it, like Land of Eem is like the Muppets meets Lord of the Rings. And when I was reading Land of Eem, I was dying because it's as subversive as the Muppets. Like, oh, these little cute people. It's like, yeah, it's all about ecological disaster and capitalism run rampant. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. It was so great. So that all gets in. It's always nice when you can throw your own humor in there, where you can enjoy what you're doing, and it's not this chore. So you were writing these series. No,
we're always trying to.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, we're always trying to make each other laugh. That's like one of our primary goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we write for ourselves first. It's
just
like, what did Ben put in here? I'm going to discover.
Like, why? That's what I like to do when I'm watching my friends on a stream. I try to get on comment and to see which one I can make break first. Just like start running random things.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a nice person. So you were making, I don't know. So you were making these novels. Dungeoneer Adventures came out, if I'm remembering, they came out after the Land of Eem game, right? Or did they come out before?
Before, well, they were coming out simultaneously.
Okay.
With the campaign.
Okay.
Technically, we just released Land of Eem a few months ago, technically,
Correct,
to the greater populace.
Yeah, it's now available to the world very recently. So,
yeah, I was one of the lucky Kickstarter backers that had the PDFs last year. So, but what led to your decision to make the Land of Eem into TTRPG? You said you had already been always interested in games, but was there like a light bulb moment where you're just like, oh yeah, I have to see what people do with this?
I think it was just sort of like a given for us that we always knew that, because there's, we talked about our previous group or our other group that we play with.
Uh-huh.
We were always bleeding our own story world into that world. We would get together as a group and create random encounters, and James and I were always just adding stuff from Land of Eem.
Oh, that's awesome.
So in a sense, that world was sort of Land of Eem in a way.
Okay.
Yeah,
because we did a lot of the work on that.
Right.
Cool.
And then, we just made it official. And like we were talking about earlier, our personal, like, forever GM of the group was a game designer and is a game designer. And that, like, has long rubbed off on us.
Right. Okay.
And, another element of it is we wanted to make the game the kind of game that we wanted to play. And that's what Land of Eem is. It's the kind of game that we want to play.
Okay.
We weren't right. Nothing was right. Truly, like, scratching the itch just the right way.
Another aspect is wanting to flesh out the world that we've created. And, when you're writing a story, there's only so much you can put in the story. You can't put all this other superfluous information, but we could really dig in deep, like with the Mucklings. One of the things we always say and we think is funny is that Rickety Stitch walks across the Mucklings in like a montage basically, but we have built it out.
That's awesome.
And made it into a 400-page book.
I love it.
Yeah, he walks across 400 pages because the purpose, like Rickety's story is his story. All of the setting is there as a backdrop. It's part of the painting.
Okay,
but
it's not
the Mucklings
what you,
or the Underlands. Yeah, it gives us a chance to actually put to paper all these ideas that we had about what's going on in this world.
Yeah. And for folks who want to understand, when they say they went into the detail of the Mucklings, that's the Mucklings book right there. The core rule book, let's see this, is that. I mean, I think it's fair to say you went into a little bit of detail, which I haven't even gotten to read this yet. That's on my review queue. But it's such a rich, cool setup. I really, really appreciate it. And even the stuff that you reveal in the core rulebook is such a neat idea. I had so much fun building my first character on a live stream because of all the backgrounds and stuff you get to review. Like I ended up with a gelatinous goo knight errant who didn't want to be a knight and had only did it because he made a promise to a friend when they were dying. And I'm like, okay, so he's like this resentful knight errant running around, and his name was like because he doesn't have any, like, just like his pronouns were like it. It was really cool.
Love it.
Somebody went. I have my
fantastic.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's like fantastic. This like reluctant hero character that's just ready for their hero's journey through the Land of Eem is amazing.
I just have to do this now because I made a promise. Darn it! So it's so much fun.
I really appreciate the gelatinous goo choice.
I think it was a role that I did that it came through.
Oh, really?
Listen,
oh, that's great.
The gelatinous goose. The one session I ran, I had a friend who went, I'm playing the gelatinous goo. I'm assuming he doesn't have vocal cords. So at the beginning, we were playing the chicken-footed witch. So at the beginning, he digested a menu from the Waffle House and was just like saying like he was putting the words up on the inside of his belly. But they were slowly becoming dissolved, so it would become harder to like recognize what he was saying halfway through. It was really, really cool. Amazing. So I do.
That's such a good idea.
I have people who want to know how many Dungeon Crawl Classics wide are these two books. So let's see. That's about one Dungeon Crawl Classics. So that's. But there's more content in this than there is in the Dungeon Crawl Classics because it's not all tables. All right, so you have Land of Eem, you do this cool thing, and you said you wanted to make the game you wanted to play, which I think is really cool. And you have this core mechanic, which is reminiscent of Powered by the Apocalypse, which for folks who don't know, is 2d6 plus a modifier. Is it safe to say that you were influenced by Powered by the Apocalypse, or did you come up with this idea independent of that? Like, had you encountered that system before?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't independent, I would say, but the bigger influence was Star Wars Edge of the Empire.
Okay.
The Genesis system.
Is where it runs? Which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is, and so you have, like, for folks who don't know, and Genesis, I'm assuming, has this too. But they have different rages for the rolls. You get if you roll the die, you're going to have either a success with a twist. You're going to have a failure or a failure that's a complete failure. So this is the game you wanted to play. What about that style and structure of a roll appealed to you? Why did you want to base your game around that?
Well, there's also one other element.
Okay.
The D12.
Okay.
And the reason we use the D12 is two reasons. One of them is emotional, because it's the best dice.
Clearly, I mean, it's clearly.
Listen, you can use it as an improvised ranged weapon. That's all I'm saying. Okay, it's a honking die.
And then the second is that it's swingier
than the 2d6.
That was what I was wondering. Did you like the fact that there was more uncertainty in rolling one dice instead of the bell curve? Okay, which is cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what about the different ranges of
And
success?
what that does, we think, well, I think the D12 and the swinginess kind of reinforces the tone that we're going for. Like it oscillates from, chaotic, silly moments because you just failed your important roll to, these climactic things. You rolled a 12 and it's, the odds are greater that you're going to achieve these highs and lows than a bell curve where a lot of the results are, success with a twist, success with a complication.
Well, unless you're me, in which case I just break the bell curve. So
that is so perfect. I can't even express.
You can buy that at my merch store, by the way.
That is perfect.
So it's nice to have that swinginess, but have all the different options. Also, did you realize when you were doing it that you set up the ranges basically the same as the Moldve Cook basic expert reaction table?
No.
Because I was reading it, I was looking at it, and actually, if you look at my review, I put the two things side by side, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they made the entire game around the reaction roll in basic Dungeons and Dragons. This is so cool. Which is, to me, is one of my favorite parts of that system. It was instinct.
Yeah,
you just did it by instinct.
That is a coincidence. Yeah, no idea.
It, simultaneous Genesis.
At first, I think the table was weighted like Powered by the Apocalypse, where it was 7 through 9, 7 through 10. We scaled it down just because, the math of a D12 and making it feel, being a bit more generous to the player.
It's nice. It's a good system. I still will roll a 1 every time, but that's fine.
You and me both.
There you go. What's the dice curse? It's great.
Fail forward.
Yeah, fail forward.
Well, no. I just rolled a 1. It's a complete failure. I just fall on my face. It's fine. We're good. I do have a question from.
Well, at least the story will move forward.
The story will move forward. My character is turned into goo, but started out as goo. So hey. I do have a question from chat. Wondering if you have thoughts on making a solo supplement that's specific for Land of Eem. Any plans to do that?
We get this question all the time, and we do actually have plans to do this. There are so many people on the Discord, on the Land of Eem Discord, that talk about this, and there are so many people on the Discord already utilizing the sandbox for solo play, because with the travel rules and the amount of material in there, it's suited for it.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. We are going to be working on that. It's in the pipeline.
Awesome. Solo play is really taking off. There's just in the last year alone, there's so many solo play, even YouTube channels that are running around now. It's really wild. And it's its own little segment of the hobby.
Yeah, James and I are not big solo players, so that's why it's like we would have wanted to get out solo rules faster. But we have to immerse ourselves, and we've just been so busy releasing the game. Now we're doing the Underlands, and we need to take a moment. We do feel like the core element of solo play is already there in the system.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just need to
there's quite a bit of elements for it.
Add our own spin.
Yeah, right.
So I have a question in chat that I don't want you to answer right now because we'll get to it in a little bit, but I want to put a bug in your ear. Paul Schaff asks, I sat down with my 9-year-old to make a character. We love the classes and art a ton. We struggled to get into character creation. Will this process be simplified or different in the kids edition? So I want to talk about the kids edition when we get to the Kickstarter segment, but Paul, I wanted to make sure that we remember to ask your question, so I didn't want to forget it. Which should be, we'll get to that in just a second here. But I want to talk about one of my favorite aspects of Land of Eem, which completely derailed me in the one session that I got to run of the game just recently. The parlay phase in conflicts is wild. So for folks who aren't familiar with Land of Eem, can you let people know how the parlay phase works? And I say conflict, not combat, because not every conflict in Land of Eem is going to be combat. So you're in a conflict situation, and Parlay comes up. So explain to people what this is who haven't also seen Pirates of the Caribbean. So,
well, we split the conflict phase into 4 phases. So you got your parlay at the top, and that's for people who want to talk first. If you want to talk, you get your opportunity before everything devolves into combat. Mm-hmm. After that, you can improvise an action. You want to do something, anything that's non-combat, like let's say there's a contested item, you go try to get it, or you cut the rope bridge or something along those lines. Anything in a conflict where mm-hmm. you're thinking of an improvised action. Then if people want to run, they can run. And then the 4th phase is combat. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted to make it so there are all these outs, so players can avoid, having to always fight their enemies.
Okay. So, and Parlay literally at the start, if you can convince the people, it's like, hey, we don't need to be doing this right now. Everybody goes, okay. And then the conflict is resolved. That's basically the...
Well, I mean, there are some like levers as a GM that you can pull on there.
Okay.
In terms of, imposing disadvantage because your argument isn't very strong.
Okay.
And, you don't have leverage. Or you could just let it fly, see what happens. If you fail, that's not going to be great. Or, if you get a success with a twist, maybe there's some compromise or only a couple of the goons maybe you don't fight, but the other ones stick around and press the conflict.
Right.
So there are a lot of different things you can do with it.
One
definitely
example,
don't want it to be like, oh, it's just sort of anticlimactic and nothing happens, like.
Yeah, I think a parlay is like communicating with your adversary in a way that could have consequence or benefit to you or them. Mm-hmm. And for like one example that we've given a couple of times is in our actual play, my character, Buddy Boubet, the tycoon, rolled a perilous encounter when we were traveling over some mountains, and it was a dragon.
Okay.
It was like a giant dragon, and a foe that we could never have defeated in combat ever.
Yes.
It would have just eaten us. And I used the parlay to utilize an ability to make a deal with the dragon, where I proposed a business proposition, and that the dragon should invest in me with his mountains of gold. And I rolled like a 12. So what that ended up doing is we survived the encounter, but now I'm beholden to this moneylender.
He's now a shareholder. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a shareholder who's going to demand a serious ROI on his investment. And so that puts a cloud over the character, but also it was a fantastic and hilarious way to escape.
Yeah.
And that's like what the parlay can do for you. And in that case, it was an extreme example, not like some goons in a tavern. But it's, it actually has entrenched itself into our entire campaign, and it's fun and hilarious, and who knows where it'll go.
I think that's a good
the results of these parlays.
Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
The results of these parlays can also result in you creating enemies, a rival, because you humiliated someone, you intimidated them in front of everyone. Maybe, it doesn't just end the conflict there, but it could continue in the future depending on what you're doing. And like James is hinting at with the dragon, it was something their group couldn't even think to like defeat in battle.
Right.
And that's kind of why we also have the parlay, because Land of Eem is actually more dangerous than you think. A lot of the adversaries in the bestiary are pretty scary, like a dragon, or let's say you encounter a werewolf or something. You better have a plan. You better have some magic items and be pretty high level to actually think about going toe to toe with some of these things.
Or very creative. And a lot of that inspiration is like Middle Earth. That's where some of the Lord of the Rings comes.
Yep.
It's like the enemies you face are perilous enemies, even though you're a hobbit who's trying to have elevensies. And like it's the idea that you can use your creativity to defeat these things and not just straight up trading blows is entrenched in the system, so that we can kind of promote heroic moments of clever, glorious, Sauron wasn't defeated by a sword fight. He was defeated by a clever plan to throw a ring into a volcano.
Yep.
And so we're trying to engineer those moments that people will talk about, like in their campaign for years, like Ben and I have done since the 4th grade.
Yeah, you're building into the system Bilbo aggravating the dragon so much that Smaug runs off and gets shot at Lake Town, which is very, very fun. So
by a different hero.
By a different hero. But they got the gold then. That was all they were caring about. They didn't want to kill the dragon. They just wanted him out of the lonely mountain.
Yeah.
So my experience with Parlay, and I think for big events, I love how you describe the dragon as this is ongoing fog over the game. And then the more you play, the more you parlay with big bads, the darker the storm clouds get. Which is part of this is part of the coolest thing that I like about the system itself. But my game, we only did a 1-shot, so I'm a little bummed that I haven't had a chance to build out for it. But we did the chicken-footed witch, and they parlayed with the chicken-footed witch, and they convinced her that they had gotten her a spot on Mucklings Got Talent to audition. And succeeded, and she went with we're gonna go. We're like, okay, and we literally had to stop. We're like, oh my gosh, she's gonna turn you all into frogs. This is awesome, and I had to stop. Which is just it, but it's this really cool thing because you just every time you succeed, you're building out the world to where you are the bowling balls running through, just bouncing off the china in the china shop and. It becomes like the end of the Blues Brothers, with everybody is just chasing them down the highway, and they're like, "Hey, we got the check. Here we are."
That's exactly how our first campaign ended.
It's awesome. The SWAT team's coming down the side of the building. It's great. So speaking of your first campaign, we mentioned this before, and you had the greatest villainous NPC of all time. A character by the name of Jeff Goldfish. Wow. It is the greatest. Jeff Goldfish. Can you please describe to us who Jeff Goldfish is? And for people who haven't seen this, you have to go back and watch the Land of Eem stream that they did that introduced the character. Because the first time I saw it, I was on the floor, out of breath. I was laughing so hard.
Yes, interesting. Yes, oh, wonderful, remarkable. Yes, Jeff Goldfish is here. Wonderful. Yes. That's all I'll do.
I'm losing my voice. That's just the best. How long did you practice?
I don't know.
Would you just sit in front of a mirror?
Sort of had it. I watched a lot of interviews of Jeff Goldfish. Jeff Goldfish.
The man's lost his identity.
I just love it. He's lost himself. He's method acting.
I've always had that impression sort of there. Oh. And then I'm not sure how, I forget how that actually came to be. It might have been George who said Jeff Goldfish or something.
That's probably.
And I just went with it.
It was a riff off of a Life Aquatic joke.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Just kept
all I was thinking was the head of the shifty organization in oh good grief, the Netflix series with all the stupid heroes who are blowing up the world all the time, and he's he's got a body of a human, and then he's just got a goldfish for a head in a goldfish jar. That's all I can think of. Do have a serious question from King Eric, the greatest of all. Serious question. When you were putting this out with all this kind of artwork style, did you get any knocks on the door from the Jim Henson company. Like, hey, we kind of did that.
I would have welcomed it.
Yeah, please. We would love that.
I would say the only clear like link to Muppets are Boggarts, who have like, you know, a prominent.
They do have the Muppet nose, yeah,
and multicolored skin and all that. But everything else, I would not classify as visually Muppets.
It's more. No, I wouldn't say it's exactly Muppets, but Boggarts are on. That's like an homage. That's on purpose to.
And when we say Muppets, it's really just like the vibe of Muppets.
Vibe. It like definitely has the vibe of the Muppets. It's very much there. It's very, very.
And that comes from our comics. Like the way we are telling stories, we're super influenced by not only the Muppets, but, you know, Muppet stuff. Like Labyrinth is a huge influence on both of us.
Okay.
The Dark Crystal, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Dark Crystal is the freakiest movie I ever saw. Just freaky.
Yeah. But like the shift in tone, like The Hobbit or Jeff Smith's Bone, the graphic novel series.
Okay.
Being able to shift on the drop of a dime from hilarious to you know, serious is something that we enjoy in a lot of the fiction that we read and the kind of games we play, because we feel like it better represents how we actually end up playing. Like when you're around the table and everybody's laughing together, you're building a lot of camaraderie with each other, like a hijinks, a goofy quest. But when Sauron crops up, that camaraderie translates into a real effort from the whole team to, we got to do something about this, guys. Like, you know, we've had our fun. These people are having their fun, but now it's time to roll.
It's like one of the greatest things of playing a role-playing game. Yeah. It's just that. Yes, that shift.
It's like that switch where it's like, that's a lich in the other room. I know we've been Muppets this whole time, but the world's in peril.
Let's go parlay with the lich.
which is one of the few that's impossible to parlay with, right? Parlay zero.
That's the thing, people. You don't have unlimited parlays. You have a limited amount of times to parlay with people.
There's some relics and some things you can do to parlay with a lich, but it's one of the examples where it's like, I'm not here for your tomfoolery.
Oh no, it's the principal from the Breakfast Club. We can't do that. Where is the ruckus? All right, so a couple of questions from chat. First off, have you both watched Dungeons and Puppets?
Yes,
I actually think I did too.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. I haven't seen a lot of it.
I saw at least there was the first one was Dungeons and Puppets, because they had a green slime that was red because they couldn't do the green slime on the green screen. That was actually really cool. And then a second question is from King Eric, the greatest of all, which is totally, absolutely, perfectly 100% serious question. King Eric, the greatest of all, has the greatest questions of all time. Can his character be a Fraggle?
This question we've gotten before.
Have you really?
We don't. Yeah. We had. It's a good question. We don't have like a Fraggle exactly, but I will say that there's like a little bit of Fraggle in the Shrim folks.
Okay.
Like the Shrim were influenced by a little bit of Fraggles, a little bit of like high fantasy dwarves, even.
Okay. I can see that.
They live underground.
And rat people.
They live underground. They live in a land where above ground there are giant monsters like the Gorgs.
I love the Gorgs.
And yeah, me too. I love the Gorg. My son loves the Gorgs.
The Gorgs are great. What about anybody? Are there any Dozer Lake ancestries they can do?
Boggles are kind of.
Just work all day. That'd be fun. All right, this is fun. Red slime is just ketchup. All right, let's get back onto the people. Now we're going to talk Fraggle Rock. We've dated ourselves, which is wonderful.
It's back. It's back.
It is back. I can't get my son to watch it. Like, we're going to watch Fraggle Rock. Nah, I don't want to watch that. I'm like, No. Sit. Like we're watching Fraggle Rock, and then after that we're watching Star Wars, and that's what we're doing.
My boy, we're going to watch Fraggle Rock and Star Wars.
This is what we do. Yes. I have to figure out how to do the Mid-Atlantic accent to do that, and record it in old-timey radios thing.
We're going to be watching Star Wars and Fraggle Rock.
Oh my gosh, it was so news radio. It was awesome. So that was a great. All right, you have totally like Mike. Don't trigger my ADHD. So now the Land of Eem is expanding, which is awesome. So you just released, and it was a long time trying to get this thing finally shoved out the door, with all the supply chains going kablooey for a year and a half. It was a great time, but you got to the finish line, and then turned around and decided, hey, let's do that again. So your next new Kickstarter is for a beginner's version of the TTRPG and the Underlands expansion to the game. So going to the question that we had earlier, what is pared down for the beginner's TTRPG? How does it change from the full game, or the other version of the game, I should say?
Well, character creation is a lot simpler. We are providing a number of pre-generated characters that you can just get into right away. You have them printed out in cardstock. Everything's there for you. All of their future abilities are planned out. You don't have to think about anything. You just jump right in.
Okay.
And there's a lot of options too. It's not like there's a few. There's
So you didn't reduce things. It's just simplified. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And there is a custom dice system. It's the same dice system, but it has custom dice with symbols. So it's sight recognition. You just have to see what you got instead of consulting a table if you're a kid. Going back and forth with that. So that makes not only combat a lot faster. Combat is pared down a lot because you're only doing 1 or 2 dread.
Gotcha. Did you reduce the number of phases in a conflict?
We did. It's more open-ended. It's less structured.
Okay.
We figured that kids will like to roll dice for combat and get into more combats probably. But there is opportunity to talk your way out of things still. And abilities just work. You have your special abilities. You don't have to roll for them. You just use them, mark them off, use quest points to use them again. What else?
There's less math to do, less things to track. It's just, out of the box, ready to play.
That was one thing that I thought
important element.
Go ahead. Sorry, James.
Oh, I was going to say the opposite side of that coin is that we designed the game to be easy to run for parents as well.
Gotcha.
Or educators.
Okay.
So it would be very clear, like, okay, here are the objectives. Here how a quest might unfold. Here's what you could maybe expect. You're probably going to play for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the attention span of the group. And here's how you can reward them. And just basically, I don't want to say put it on rails, but structure it in a way that makes it easier to go through the material and present conflicts, ideas, challenges to the kids at the table.
Yeah.
Because Ben and I like clarity when we're reading RPG books or playing games. It's all about how quickly can I understand exactly what I'm supposed to do. Sure, there's all this lore, totally a ton of lore, but how digestible is that lore in a gameable format? The Mucklings is our example of trying to tackle that challenge so that you can like in one page, you can understand this entire location. Here are the characters. Here's what they want. Here's what's going on. And famously, Ben doesn't prepare at all ever when we play Land of Eem. It's like our personal game. We roll into the video chat and we just play.
Awesome.
That's how we do it. And we wanted to, make it as easy as we could for parents to play the game with their kids as well.
That's awesome. I will say paring down the things to track is kind of important to play with kids. Land of Eem's money system is really interesting. Have folks had trouble adapting to it? because it's all bags of coins. Like there's no individual things to keep track of. Like, do people, is it because it is a mental shift?
That might be a hurdle for kids. They're like, if you want to play Land of Eem, the core game for kids, with kids, there are a few things that you may want to drop, and coins might be one of them.
Okay.
As well as, rations, keeping track of, eating while you're on a journey, and the whole crafting system probably you want to drop.
Right.
But it's all very modular and it doesn't disrupt the game.
Yeah.
And those are things that we did not include in
the new version,
the Dungeoneer Adventures RPG.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
You just have a small amount of items. You're able to gain some item cards through play, but you're not having to track like all these things that you get, or like
so they can get up and go. Because when you're playing with kids, you can't. You need to have a railroad and realize they're never going to follow it. You just have to have the beginning and the end.
Exactly.
So I do have a request from chat.
Travel is a huge part. Oh, sorry.
So how is travel? Yeah, how does travel change down for your kids' version? Does it shift at all?
Well, it's basically, that's not the focus of the game. Whereas in Land of Eem, that's like the focus of the game.
Gotcha. Okay.
But Dungeoneer Adventures is like you just get to the location, or you're already in a dungeon area where you've got a map and you could say where you want to go.
Awesome.
That type of thing. Go room to room.
But we do have random encounters.
Okay.
In Dungeoneer Adventures, but
that's just like a tool for GMs.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to throw something in between scenes.
Gotcha. It's
you bump into the bully in the hallway, and
I like that. No, I don't, because that terrifies me. I had too many flashbacks. Anyway, not that I knew anything about that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that you start at the dungeon and off you go. It's very much an old school style play. You're going back to almost basic D&D with that. We do have a request from chat. This is a request for a product.
Yes.
Crew would like an adventure module called Welcome to the Fungal Jungle, with the main antagonist being Axl Ross, an Axl Rose lookalike with the demeanor of Bob Ross. I think he would get along splendidly with Jeff Goldfish, by the way. I just think that would be absolutely perfect.
Too. I instantly saw the mushroom cap hair.
Yeah. And then you have to have Slash somewhere in the just.
What's funny is one of the bully characters in Dungeoneer Adventures is named Axel.
Oh, really?
That's true.
Okay. Well, now we know what he looks like.
Yes.
All right. So you're making this version of the game for younger kids. I think did a chat the other day. Did you say as young as 8 is kind of where you were putting the cutoff as? What was the kind of the impulse to do this version of the game?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
We have a little bit of lag in the chat.
That's a great question. No worries. So because of the aesthetic of Land of Eem, a lot of folks just drive by and think, oh, this is just for kids. They don't like open it up and really understand that it's really just for all ages. And so we get lots of questions about pared down rules for younger kids than 12. Parents adopting Land of Eem for their own table. They want to bring their kids into it, but their kids are just a little too young for Land of Eem. How would we approach the game? So Ben and I thought, okay, that's something to think about. But when we had our own kids, we were like, oh my gosh, let's just engineer the kind of game that we would want to run for our boys.
Cool.
Like that. Let's design a game that we can play with our kids that will be easy to run, easy for them to understand, easy for them to get into, so we can, introduce this fun world of not just Land of Eem and tabletop role-playing games, but introduce the concept of solving problems creatively, like working together as a team as early as we possibly could, because that was really influential on our own upbringing. Ben and I, tabletop RPGs were really impactful to our entire careers.
Yeah.
And so I want to pass that on as best I can and we just agreed unanimously, like right away.
We had the perfect premise with Dungeoneer Adventures. We've got this school that teaches kids how to be adventurers. We have all this lore and just material ripe for the picking.
Okay.
All these professors, classes, the locations. We already have sort of built it, and now we just have to gamify it. And so we went off to the races.
Yeah. It was a natural fit.
The gym teacher in the Dungeoneers Academy is the funniest looking character. I said in the chat the other day, he looks like Chet from Weird Science. I mean, it's like the absolute perfect. It's like, oh my gosh, it's Chet. Butthead.
I've heard that like 5 times.
He's perfect. He looks
great.
exactly like him. And even better is that he looks like he got turned into that slug at the end of the movie and only turned partially back. So he's like halfway between the two. It's so perfect. I do have to point out that someone pointed out.
I will say that was not an influence on me.
Listen, I don't care if it was. Spontaneous genesis is great. I want to point out, someone in chat said all travel in the children's version of the game is done by old Studebaker. And now I have Moving Right Along from the Muppet movie stuck in my head. So thank you, King Eric, for that one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just moving right along. We're going to travel by map. So let's talk about the other part of this expansion, because it is this fantastically wild swing, almost like you were rolling a D12 to get these two products in the same Kickstarter campaign, because you have the kids version of the game, and then you have the Underlands expansion for the original Land of Eem. So other than the obvious as what's going to be in the Underlands expansion, what are some of the cool additions that you're bringing to the game with it?
Well, first I'll start off by saying adding the Underlands campaign setting to the Kickstarter was such an obvious choice for us, because all of the Dungeoneer Adventures series and game takes place in the Underlands.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Anybody that's a fan of the book series
would understand,
would immediately recognize a lot of the locations and a lot of the lore, because that's where Dungeoneer Adventures takes place.
Awesome.
The Mucklings calls back to the Underlands, and the core game calls back to the Underlands all over the place. And we wanted to be able to take a lot of the unique biomes orbiting the Land of Eem ecosystem forever and finally solidify them, like the fungal jungle or the shimmering shar, which is like a barren crystal kingdom that's like far below the Mucklings. The Abyss, which is the darkest place in all of Eem, deep in the earth, filled with mystery and wonder. And then the Under Mucklings, which is literally directly beneath, to the point where you can key the maps to each other beneath the Mucklings sandbox. And that's got the giant New Delve city where the goblins capital is. It's got Dungeoneer Academy in it, and countless other locations that are just a different flavor from the industrialist hellscape of the Mucklings realm.
There's some of that too.
Although there's some of that, because under Mucklings it bleeds into it. But it's this kind of organic transition from that to a totally different kind of tone and feel that the characters can experience and DMs can use as a resource.
That's cool. Are you adding any different ancestries or classes to the game with the expansion, or is it just basically location settings?
We are adding 3 new folk that you can be.
Cool.
Mold Werps, which are mole people.
Okay.
Flitter folk, which are little bat people, and centipeople, which are these insectoid, caterpillar centipede-like people.
Cool.
As for classes, we don't have any classes in the game in the Underlands, but we're playtesting a bunch of them on Patreon.
Okay.
And we plan to do a player compendium that collects these things, as well as all the folk, because we've actually added 30 folk on Patreon as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As well as a pretty robust profession system, which gives you additional options for abilities as you level up.
So are you playtesting with the Patreon, or is that going to come to products eventually? Or is this really like, hey, Patreon us so we can we can do the keep doing this cool thing.
We are playtesting on Patreon. Yeah, we are playtesting on Patreon. Of course, like people that support us on Patreon, that's tremendous. It allows us to be able to produce more of this stuff and test it effectively. But we do intend to bring it to market, to intend to combine everything for everybody to enjoy. But the Patreon folks are the ones that get to see it first and play with it and all that stuff.
That's awesome.
And people in our Discord community are playtesting. They're getting deep into professions and using all the new folk and classes. So it's really cool.
That's really amazing.
To see the feedback.
It's neat to see just this little game just has this community around it that people really, really enjoy and do some pretty cool stuff with. I will point out, someone in chat said, I feel a collaboration between Land of Eem, and I always get his last name wrong, JP Covert, would turn out awesome. Maybe one day a one-shot or a zine. And then JP Covert responded in chat, I did 2 adventures in the Adventures for the Mucklands. JP, how you doing?
What's up, JP?
Hey, JP, welcome.
JP, I actually did want to reach out to you some point to do an interview, so please check in with me. I would love to talk sometime. It's like
we're actually talking to him tomorrow.
Are you really? Awesome.
Oh yeah.
I love his stuff.
Yeah, JP
did a couple adventures for the first Adventures in the Mucklings book that we put out with the last campaign, and they are some of the most beloved by the Discord community.
Okay, cool. That's
he did an awesome job, and his
some
stuff
of the most
on Patreon is amazing.
Oh yeah, JP, he's where it's at.
I really need to get this game to the table more because I do enjoy running it. I do have a question from Crew as it scrolls by. You've talked about wizards and witches in the pipeline because there's only one folk / class that does magic right now. That's the gnomes, right? But how does including these other magical, I don't know if they're professions or classes, work with the low magic setting? I mean, are they extremely rare in the lore, or how's that going to be changing the game a little bit?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
No, you go ahead. I insist.
I'll just take a sip of my water.
In the lore, yeah. So in the lore, wizards and there are witches throughout all of Eem, but wizards specifically in the lore are pretty rare. But we always knew we wanted to introduce the idea of wizards emerging again. Into the Land of Eem. Wizards that are not necessarily, trained. They're such a different flavor from the sorcerers in the Land of Eem, who are much more about like coveting power and collecting power. Wizards are like partners with it. They're like partners with magic.
Okay.
And so we're playtesting the unicorn, which has some magical nature abilities, a la the gnome, like similar to the gnome.
Okay.
We're testing the wizard on Patreon as well. We officially announced the witch not too long ago that we're working on the witch class. And we see these as like highly creative classes that can influence how the world and how the games actually unfold. And the feedback that we've been getting on the wizard so far is excellent stuff. Like people using the rune word system to come up with all kinds of wacky and amazing combinations to basically generate any kind of spell they need in the moment on the fly.
Oh, neat.
And we're play testing that system now. And over the next several months, we'll probably be making adjustments. And like the other classes, we'll make adjustments. And as Ben said, we intend to put out a substantial player's compendium that's got all the folk and all the classes and all the professions and all the ways you can augment the current classes. We just need to get around to it.
Okay.
Yeah, we know that it's a process that we're intentionally taking time to build up all the content and play test. Because we knew long ago that the wizard was going to need a lot of play testing.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's sort of a unique system, not really like the other classes.
Yep. It's a much different thing. I like the idea of magic coming back. And you have people who are partners with magic and people who try to dominate magic. And now we're certainly in Star Wars, which is great. So, but I hope
that's a big influence of how we're sort of looking at it.
It's a big influence in like the time period of Eem. Like the time period in its history is at this like pinnacle moment. It's at this moment where the world is really under significant threat from a shadowy foe.
Okay.
And the idea of like all these heroes are emerging right now. Like all the Muppets are coming, they're bubbling up because the world needs them.
Okay.
And that's what the wizards are partly representing.
Awesome. Should be good. I implore you, beg you, and expect you to, because I think you have a plan. Land the story better than the sequel trilogy did, please. Because please, because I had such hopes after Force Awakens, and then just why did they do this? And I don't understand. And okay, but now I'm getting off in another direction. So
yeah, well, that'll take us into a dark place.
It's a very dark place. Yes. Yes.
I demand a parlay, but parlay is 0.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. We don't want to go there right now. Oh boy. All right. So this Kickstarter is currently going on. As now I'm totally gone punchy. But how much longer do people have to back this Kickstarter? Which is
quite a while. July 18th is the last day.
We just started the campaign. July 18th is the last day, but everything that people can do to help promote it, share it. We're unlocking stuff. The stretch goals. The next stretch goal unlock is a bunch of additional adversaries for the Dungeoneer game. Literally like adversary cards.
Okay.
Which we're very stoked about.
Those look cool.
We just unlocked the 1,000 random encounters for the Underlands, which is an exciting one. Ben and I consider the book of random encounters that accompany the sandbox to be essential. So that was really nice to see that unlocked. And huge thanks to everybody that's been supporting us already. We're over the moon. We funded in like 4 hours or something. It was just incredible.
That's it was 4 hours that you did. It was really cool. You're up to about $138,000, almost to 139. So that makes me happy. You talked about the stretch goals that you're almost at. Looking at all your stretch goals, are there any that you would be bummed if you didn't get to?
I would be remiss to say that if we didn't get to the meeples, there would be a revolt on Discord. The demand for the meeples is so much higher than we expected that people are after those meeples. I think what's happened is like the first meeples were such a hit that they became like a collector's item.
Okay.
And now everybody must have the collected. They like need to have the meeples and be able to see their little hero guys going from hex to hex and exploring the world on the big cardboard map.
People are like fixated on meeples. They love meeples.
I mean, they are cool. The
they
Land
really
of Eem
are.
meeples. I'm always toying around with them on my desk.
See, I can't use minis because I'm a spaz and I just launch things into like Windows and things, so I can't have stuff like that around. Because I'm trying to be careful, they just fly off. So like I just break it. I'm trying to be careful, it will be broken. So I never got into the meeples, but they're so cute to have doing things. I have another request from Crew on chat. He wants Space Eem. Can we do a pigs in can we do a pigs in space version of Eem? I mean, that would just be great. So
sort of like an inside Discord joke.
Is it really?
Everybody wants Space
clamoring for.
Listen, I am with the
Everybody
Space
wants
Eem
Space
people. I want Space Eem.
I know there are many of you. Like everyone, they hear it once.
I mean, I'll say that you guys have, persuaded me more than I like used to be feeling about it. I was very adamant against it, but I'm turning the corner on something.
On something.
On something. You heard it here first, folks.
On
Okay,
something.
on something. This is, maybe at some
Something
point.
spacey.
Yes. Okay. I'm down for that.
Not just that. You did promise live that if we reached 1 million, we would do Space Eem.
Oh, let's go back to the thing. So we are at $138,424 for everybody from the Discord. If you want them to get to Space Eem, break 1 million, you have 907 or $62,000 to go. So
That's the difference of selling out, right?
Yeah, Ben swore an oath, and I'll back his play.
there you go.
We'll make Space Eem.
I think it just has to be done. I think Space Eem would just be if pigs in space, Land of Eem. Come on. And Cruz says, "Don't joke about the meeples. It's a very serious thing." So that's good. I wanted to. Do you have like a soundtrack that you're going to work on too? If you hit it, like who's going to work on that? Like, are either of you the musicians that are working on it?
No, yeah. There's that. Land of Eem has a long history of music. The Rickety Stitch series has the main character is a skeleton bard, and so there are songs that he sings in it, and we wanted to make it so that folks could listen to the songs. So we happen to be friends with some super talented people. One of them being Darren Korb from our D&D group, who is a composer for super giant games like Hades and Bastion and all those.
Oh,
and
cool.
Another friend of ours from college who's a folk singer and songwriter named Evan Wolverton. And they put our lyrics to music, and we made them available on YouTube. You can look up the Rickety Stitch music on our YouTube channel.
Oh, so cool.
And so Eem has always had this musical element for years. And we learned of a group called Fantasy Audio Magazine from one of our artists who actually is on our actual play as well, named Peter Simon. He connected us with Fantasy Audio Magazine. They were thrilled at the idea of doing like an Eem-centric dungeon synth album. And that is one of the stretch goals to unlock that album, and we would love to see that take place too, because again, like on Discord, folks are always asking like, what do you guys listen to when you're playing Land of Eem or when you're trying to set the mood? And so let's see if we can't come up with some Eem centric music that's not just rolling down the road.
Oh, that's so cool. Now I have discovered the existence of something called dungeon synth, and now I have to go look this up. And I probably will end up in a dark place on the internet, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Well, go ahead, please finish. We have a little bit of a lag.
Oh no, I'm
yeah. So
I'm good. Sorry.
Awesome. We're just about at an hour, so I don't want to keep you guys beyond that. I want to honor the fact for both of your time and for making this time for me. I am so grateful that you came on. I wanted to talk with you for a while. I really appreciate this game. I think it is really cool. It is this unique thing in the world of TTRPGs, which is a very hard thing to pull off in an era where everyone is making a game. You have Land of Eem, it's just like, hi, we're here and we're really weird and it's cool. So thank you so much. And before we sign off, thank you
for having us.
Listen, you are welcome anytime you want to come back on. You do another Kickstarter, just reach out and we'll have a chat. But before I go off,
thank you. We'll definitely do it.
Awesome. I'm going to go to a separate screen to say goodbye to folks, but anything you want to let folks know before we sign off for the evening? Beg them to come to Kickstarter?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for everybody that's been supporting the Kickstarter. It really means a lot to us, and it makes this possible to do. And thank you to all the patrons on Patreon that support us. Thank you to everybody in the Discord that is getting the word out there about the game and just being such a nice, amazing community helping each other out. I've never seen a Discord so actively helpful and wonderful with each other. It's such a blessing. We've got the best community in the world.
Yeah, big thank you to everyone watching right now.
You guys were great guests. Thank you for coming on. Please stick around in our little chat as I say goodbye, and so I can say a proper thank you to you. Thank you everybody for watching tonight. We had a lot of folks who were here. For folks who are new, stick around, maybe subscribe and hang out a little bit more, and I'll be back with some more stuff in the future. So I'll be right back with you guys, folks. Please stick around. Humor in it. I love everything about it, and if you get a chance to play it, make sure that you actually take the opportunity to do it. If you get a chance to pick it up, go grab it, and if you can back their Kickstarter and help them get to some of these cool stretch goals they have out, I'm sure they would really appreciate it. Coming up on the channel, I've started editing my second video for Tales of Argosa. Going to be getting to Rust and Redemption after that, and probably be getting into my Numenera review for the book that I have not named because my party is still getting to it after that. And I also have a couple of interviews I'm scheduling that we are going to be getting to sometime over the course of July. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the cool chats and for participating. And until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.